Alright, make sure you watch part 1 of this video where I show you how to set up your basic shaders and the light setup. Finished rendering and it took 4 minutes and 41 seconds, so that's nothing. So I can go back now and I can try different looks. So I'll go, fit canvas, and let's go maybe make this darker brown, and maybe let's go ahead and make the straps maybe more. Just gonna lower the contrast. Just gonna make these a bit more red, and the saturation I'm gonna keep it back, bring it back to 0.5. I think a bit brighter, something like this. And now we're gonna change the color for that one as well, and we'll just select this. It's the same color, maybe a bit less saturated. So let's go to saturation like 0.3. Just make sure to unlink this and have it to 3. Okay. So now maybe try a different, for the buckles, different color. Let's go with a clean gold. A bit too bright. Or maybe you can make him make that less shiny. So instead of, let's go make it a bit rough. Okay, let's go ahead and render that one. So let's go 0.2. I'm gonna render that. I'm gonna pause it and get back once it's done. 4 minutes, 30 seconds. All right, let's go ahead and try another one. And for this one, I'm gonna try something different. Let's go ahead. As I said before, we can use the actual sunlight as an artificial light. So let's say our ambient light, and the bag is sitting under a more shadowed area, and you can use let's say we have a reflector, and for that I'm going to go sunlight, and I'm just going to rotate the sunlight for the other side because I want to catch these folds here and this, and maybe here on the strap. And for this one, let's try something different. Let's make the body of the bag cloth, and let's keep the straps as leather. So to select this, I'm just going to scroll down, and I'm going to use this called striped. And I'm using that because I want to show you that because we have UV maps, now we can play around with this. We can have the repeat, and it's still going to look really good. So let's say maybe 3. No, 3 is too big. 5 maybe. 5 looks good. So here's what I love about this one. This striped fabric, you can actually tweak each color of each stripe. Actually, there are only 3 colors. So let's go for this one. We'll do maybe a green, less saturated green, something like this. Maybe for this we're gonna use something. Maybe let's use the same one and just play around with the. Yeah, let's make that light. And for this one, actually, I like the blue. Maybe just make it a bit brighter. And here's the lovely thing about this. You can actually tweak how rough do you want this material to be. So if you want to add a shine, you see it's going to add a shine only for that stripe. Here it's more subtle. And maybe let's see for this one. You see, it only adds for the stripes. So maybe we'll make only the stripes a bit reflective, and keep the other ones rough, and maybe have this like really rough. So then we have a different kind of texture, and this is why I moved the sunlight, just so we can capture that. And maybe for the straps, I'm gonna go with more of a chocolate color, and we can do that with contrast. So okay. And now let's do the picker. It's easier to. I'm just gonna unlink, and I'm gonna make the size 2. Okay, and let's change this to something else. Let's go maybe silver. Not for the whole bag. Or maybe let's do a silver for that one. buckles, or maybe a scratched. Yeah, I like that. Okay, so now let's go ahead and maybe let's change the colors of the stitching for this one. Maybe have the stitches, I don't know, black. Maybe a darker brown. Actually, I think the brighter one looked better. And maybe let's go with this. Oh, I like that one. Okay, so let's go ahead and render this one as well. And let's name this 3. So here's the cloth and leather render. Now, the other thing that I really love about Dimension is once the render is done, you click on this and you go edit in Photoshop. As you can see, you'll notice here you have a folder called additional layers, and inside you're going to see material selection, object selection, and you have something called depth information, just if you want to add some blur to your model and so on. But we'll worry about these in a bit. The other thing you'll find is the rendered image and the photo. So the photo is exactly as you have it. You just add it in the smart object and that's it. And here's your model, here's the photo. All right. Here's how I work with this. Now, here are the other ones that we rendered, and this one has or this one we moved the light, and for that one, these two we have the lights from this side. So here's how I usually work. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make the contact shadow because I like my contact shadows to be a bit stronger. So I'll go ahead and do Control J, and I'll duplicate it twice, and then I merge these two and I'm going to move them down, right? So, and then I'm going to go ahead and do multiply, or you can do color burn. Multiply works for me. So now without with, it just adds that extra. Okay, when you do this, the only bad thing about it is if you look at the edges, it adds like a black edge here. To fix that, just go ahead and add a mask and then take gradient. Make sure you have black and white selected. Make sure you have mode exclusion, and then have the white, the top color, and just drag down. So now the black line only appears here. Now, if you want, you can have that till here, but I want that shadow to be hitting in the back, so it's not visible now. See, I really like to have that, extra touch of shadow. Now, second thing you can do is you can go ahead and add a curve and maybe play around with the contrast. I think linear contrast should be more than enough. And then I can go ahead and add color lookups, which I love using. Then first thing I'm going to add is film stock. When you add it like this, it's really harsh, but I don't want it to be that strong. I can go ahead and maybe 15% with, see, it just adds a bit of touch to it. And then what you can do is you can go in and you can just go over this. And the best thing about this, you can actually load LUTs. So if you have a library of LUTs, you can just go ahead and just do load 3D LUT and you can import it. And what's a good idea is just select the first one and just, scroll between them and see which one, because you might find ones that are really, really good. Like, for example, this crisp pointer. It doesn't look good, but if you go and you lower the opacity to something like 10, just add a bit of, bluish tint to it. And then I'll go ahead and add another one, and we'll do maybe fall colors. No, we already have that one. Fuji Eterna. Here's one I love, which adds a bit of atmosphere to the 10. And then maybe I'll add another one. Let's see. No, I think I'm going to add just soft warming. I really like using this one. Maybe 15%. Okay. Now, what else? We can go ahead and duplicate this again and go soft light. And this is going to affect only the bag. And again, don't forget, you don't have to use the full effect of it. You can just use, just to have a subtle extra, contrast to it. Now, select everything, put them in a folder, and just go Control J and then Control E to merge them all. So now we have them as a photo. And now we can do Control Alt U, and this gets rid of the saturation. I just want to lower the saturation, and then go Filter, Other, and just go High Pass. Okay. Bear with me. It looks weird now, but if you go and change the to Overlay, you're gonna get a way sharp image. Now this is way too sharp. Again, I'm just gonna lower it just a bit. Now here's the difference with. See, you can barely notice it here, and especially in the stripes. So that's add a bit of more punch. Now the other thing we can do is we can take the group and actually turn it into a smart object. And then we can go Filter and Camera Raw Filter. So if you've ever taken a photo, you must have run into this at least once. So here you can play around with as if you were tweaking a photo. So maybe add a bit of more temperature, maybe a bit of more green because we are outside. Add more contrast. Here's one I really love, is the texture. Just brings that texture here out and on the table. Maybe play around with the vibrance. If you want, you can go and add a bit of, just to make it a bit more interesting, you can add a bit of vignette to your shot, and maybe add a bit of grain. Just gonna leave that. Maybe the contrast was way too up. Okay, and now maybe the yellow here is a bit too strong. You can go in and you can tweak this. So maybe the yellows, just gonna bring the yellows just a bit down. Maybe oranges as well. And okay. So here's, because we added it in a smart object, now we can turn these off if we don't like them. It's subtle, but it just adds a bit of, extra to it. Okay, now let's do the other ones. So we have the first leather and the second one. So I don't want to, use this two files. So I'm just going to go to rendered image, and I'm going to Control A to select everything, and then Control C to copy that. And on top of the rendered image, I'm going to do Control V. So then you're just gonna have to drag it down. If you hold Shift, it's just gonna, snap to it. And maybe leather 02. Okay. So here's where these come into play. Because we tried different, and the lighting, you notice I didn't try it with this one because the lighting in this one is different. We have the same lighting in both of them. So let's say, I don't like the straps, honestly. I would go with the dark one. Now, instead of jumping into Dimension and re-rendering again, I know it didn't take long, but bear with me. You can go here and maybe select this purple, which is a material selection. Just select the wand, click here, and then just create a folder, add the mask to it, to the folder, hide these, we don't need them now. Now I'm gonna go ahead and duplicate this one and just drag the layer inside. So as you can see, now I have the straps from that one on top of this, okay? So I can see if this looks better. If you go in, you'll notice it's not perfect. But again, this is just for testing out looks. But here's what you can play around even more with this. You can go, maybe if I go soft light, and if you zoom in, it doesn't look that bad. Because you can play around with maybe the feather. And it looks better. So now I have an extra option on top of the ones that I had. Okay, let's go ahead and select the other ones. I'm going to go ahead and select the straps for this. And I'm going to do another folder and going to add a mask to that. Hide these. I'm going to take the same one and just drag and drop here. And add a bit of feather. So now we have this option, and this option. And already we can try some new looks. before even going back into Dimension, we can try different looks here. Okay, let's say we, how about we take the leather? See, again, because we have the other one, and we put the other one on top, we can use that. Or maybe let's take the body of this and play around with the soft light on that one. And if we turn the opacity, we have a third option. And I really like how this looks. So let's say this is the look that I'm going for. I'm going to go ahead, and you can do the same here. If you don't like this, you can use the golden one. So you can select that. Sorry. That one. Okay, and it's going to select the buckles and everything. And let's say which one had the golden one. I think this one. So I'm going to duplicate this again. That one. Do a folder, add the mask to it, and just duplicate this again, and just gonna go clear. Yeah, this one has the gold one. So now I can drag this inside, and now we have two options of gold or bronze, or maybe something in between. So you have that extra option. So now I go ahead and let's select everything, group those, and let's do the same thing. Let's do color lookup, and I'm going to go ahead and just play around with these. Crisp winter, I love the look of that. So just makes the sky a bit, and I love how it affects the table. Okay, let's do that again. Now maybe add the film stock. Again, too harsh. Maybe 10%. 10% is just right. Okay, and then do, let's see. Can go around and play with these. I love this one. Ooh, this one looks better. So let's go. Okay. And maybe finally try to see if soft warming works. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put all of these in one folder, and without, with, see, just adds. And you have the option of turning these off. So if you don't like them, you can set to the client different. You can send them an option like this. You can send them one with a bluish light, and so on. And again, if you want, you can, Control J, merge these, and you can do the Control Alt U, hue and saturation, and then go filter, other, high pass. And if you go, instead of overlay, you can go soft light. Just makes it, because if you export this into Photoshop, into Facebook or Instagram, you're gonna lose a lot of detail. So it's better to have it extra sharp and then lose a bit of softness to it. Or you can always have the option of going, maybe 50% of that. It's exactly what you need. Okay. And don't forget, you can select all of these, Control J again, merge them. And you notice I'm not destructing everything. I'm keeping everything on its layer. If I want to go back, I can always go back. I need that level of control, because I can always tweak and make it better, or arrange stuff, because before merging everything. So now I've merged those, but still it's on its own. And if I go to filter and do camera raw filter, I can tweak this even extra as a photo, and maybe have this a bit of green to it, maybe more contrast. Yeah, why not? And maybe raise the texture a bit, more vibrance, just a touch. Let's see, we can add a bit of vignette. Okay, and that's our render. I went ahead and added even more renders, and you can actually download these, and as you can notice, the stitching is a bit more desaturated, and I went ahead and created like a nice label for this just to catch the light of the sun. And this was created all of it in Photoshop. And I also created one with just cloth, so I can go ahead and hide these. This is just two different colors, no leather, just different type of synthetic cloth. And the stitching, I went with a black look, and you can see this is the exact workflow that I work with. And you can actually check these and see if you can learn something from them. And the other one, I went for a more a darker kind of a more serious look. So I went with a greenish gray color. And for the leather, I've tried a different type of leather for that one. This leather is not included, I think, in the starter pack for Dimension, but you can download a couple from Adobe stock, or you can actually create a couple in Substance Designer and import them into Dimension. All right. I really hope you find this course tutorial, and if you have any questions, please email me, and I'll gladly, or you can check out my YouTube channel, and you can leave me a comment there, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. All right. Have a nice one. If you want to learn how to create the duffel bag using Marvelous Designer and ZBrush, I left a link below to my Gumroad page. I really hope you find it helpful. All right, see ya.